it feels raw. It feels very visceral. The grip is phenomenal. I feel like the Viper has its own distinct personality. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're in a 2015 Dodge Viper TA 2.0. The Dodge Viper as a whole, I think, is a very interesting car. Now with the end of the production of the Dodge Viper, these cars have become quite valuable over the past few years. TA stands for time attack. This car has a whole bunch of new aero on it, front splitters, massive rear wing, new shocks and dampers, just more ready for the track essentially. 222 extra pounds of downforce at 150 miles an hour in between the normal Viper and the ACR. This one's finished in competition blue, has just 8,000 miles. It is available for sale here at European Exotic Center in Tampa, Florida. So let's go ahead and take it out for a drive. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. If you'd like to see all my future supercar content, including plenty of car reviews to come. Have a catastrophically enormous 8.4 liter V10. Doesn't need to be that big, but you know, America, you know, that's what we like over here. We like to kind of flex 8.4 liters. It is unnecessary, but the whole car is unnecessary. Nobody needs an exotic car. I mean, the whole point of it is to be unnecessary. That is the beauty of it. It is the largest engine fitted to a production car in quite a long time. So with that, 645 brake horsepower, 600 foot-pounds of torque, 0 to 60 in the low 3-second range. Of course, only with a 6-speed manual transmission. Turning radius is abysmal, but the throws are very short, very notchy, and the grip is phenomenal. Visibility does take some getting used to. Of course, it is a massive hood. You sit all the way in the rear axle, so it is, and if you're not used to that, then it might be a little tough at first. You also can't see out of it at all. The visibility is horrendous. Actually, it doesn't ride terribly rough. I mean, you do feel things beneath you for sure. I wouldn't say it beats you up or anything. They only made 96 TA 2.0s. Oh, it's quick. First gear is also incredibly long. I think you can hit 60 miles an hour in first. One thing that sucks about that is for normal road use, you're not shifting all too often. I don't even know how else to put this, but I don't really think this car sounds very nice. You know, it's a V10, but it only revs to 6,000 RPM. I don't know why. I mean, it seems like the second you start having fun, you got to shift. I mean, it kind of sounds like it's trying to be a Huracan. It's just like a deeper tone to it. 6,000 RPM redline, not good. I mean, it moves though. In the corners though, I mean, it feels so planted. And the steering is super sharp. But everything inside, I do think it is a nice place to be. You know, compared to Vipers of the past, much nicer inside. Much better build quality overall. There's better materials, not as much just hard touch plastic. These racing seats are also fantastic. They're quite comfortable as well. I'm about 6'4" and I have honestly plenty of room in here. I mean, headroom is pretty good actually. Legroom is on the tighter side, I suppose, more so with like the pedal box. It's kind of tight down there, but it is a very driver-focused cabin. And of course, this does get a lot of attention. Definitely more attention than like a Corvette, and because you really don't see Vipers all that often. I mean, I rarely see them driving around, especially one with a big-ass wing like this one. I will say the clutch engagement is always a little tricky on Vipers. The sort of catching point is always a little too high in my opinion. But the clutch itself, I do think is on the lighter side. It's just a very long pedal travel. Ultima driver, better watch out. Brace yourselves. Are Ultima drivers like self-aware about how they drive? If I were to go buy an Ultima, would I just all of a sudden start driving like an NPC and just be a menace to society? Speaking of crashing, Dodge Vipers are sort of known for being a bit of a handful, but I would say this newer version is not as much so. It has got more driver aids. You know, the old Vipers, no traction control, first gear. I mean, that is a long first gear. You know, the old cars had, you know, no driver aids essentially, so you're sort of just on your own. This car is still a raw experience. It's still rough. This is still a raw experience, but it has a bit more of a refined feel to it all, which I think the Viper needed. Yeah, you know, we're moving around. Another question too is this a supercar? I think it's more of a supercar than a Corvette. Really just based off the fact that the production numbers are much lower. You don't really see these too often. I do think these cars feel more special than Corvettes. And since they stopped making the Viper, prices on these have been holding or even going up in many cases. You know, this car we're asking $179,900. It's only got 8,000 miles. I do think this car sounds better than like the older Dodges. Those cars just sound like booty cheeks. I will say 645 horsepower from 8.4 liters is a little laughable, but I think this has got plenty of power. I think if it had 750 horsepower, it would just be maybe a little too much. It feels raw. It feels very visceral. All the noise coming into the cabin, like it feels very eventful. The sound is growing on me as I drive it more and as I rev it out more. It is growing on me. I do wish it revved higher, but the turn-in is, I mean, you can just feel the nose just gripping instantly. For being a bigger car, it doesn't feel its size. It really does a good job of masking the size. Like, it feels kind of nimble. Race optimized shock tuning. Oh yeah, this got mad stiff. Oh yeah, it got noticeable. I think too stiff for the road. It's got super wide rear tires. I think they're like 345. Following it from behind, it looks really good. The road presence is there. You know, the Vipers, they're a little bit more intimidating to drive than the Corvettes. Like, the newest generation is a little bit more welcoming, but there's still that sense of this might not end well. Yeah, this is too stiff. I feel like this is not sustainable for more than 10 minutes. This is ass. It does have carbon brakes as well. One thing I like about the Viper is that with a lot of cars that are coming out now, a lot of them feel almost kind of similar to each other. I feel like the Viper has its own distinct personality that just draws people in. It behaves in its own unique manner, and I think that's really refreshing, especially nowadays with just the way the car world's going. Let's test the bumps. That was not great. You can see why the ACR broke so many track records. And seeing this thing approaching you, like if you're in front of this and you see this approaching you from behind, it's kind of terrifying. I mean, you see it and you're like, oh shit, let me get out the way. Oh my. And I'm really not even getting on it too much because I just don't want to go to prison. I like the fact that you feel like you can't just simply get in and floor it and it's going to be fine. It's not like a Huracan, which I always use the Huracan as an example for this because it is a great car, but it's very easy to drive. Like my 95-year-old great grandma can hop on that thing and just drive it like an Audi. This car is not like that. Yes, of course it is a manual, but it's brutal. It's kind of intimidating and a little nerve-wracking when you get on it, and that's fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.